We live in a world overflowing with noise, distractions and endless desires, yet we fail to see what truly matters, the reality that's right before our eyes. Most people chase illusions, constantly searching for meaning somewhere far away, while the truth sits silently within reach. It's not that life hides its beauty, it's that our blindness, shaped by ego, fear and habit, refuses to open. The moment you learn to truly see, not with your mind, but with your awareness, everything changes. Life is constantly happening right now, but most people are lost somewhere between what has already passed and what hasn't yet come. They live in a haze of memories and expectations, disconnected from the living pulse of this moment. The mind builds endless stories about yesterday's mistakes and tomorrow's plans, leaving no space for what's unfolding right before their eyes. When awareness is trapped in these illusions of time, existence becomes dull, repetitive and blind. The beauty of life is never found in the past or the future. It only breathes in the present. To be aware is not about doing something extraordinary, it is about reclaiming the ability to simply be here. Every sound, every breath, every sensation is whispering truth, but the noise within drowns it out. The present moment doesn't need to be chased, it is always available, waiting for attention to return. Yet most people are too restless, too distracted, too entangled in thought to notice that what they seek is already here. Awareness is not a skill to develop, it is your natural state that reveals itself when the mind becomes still. When you begin to live with full attention, even the smallest things start to glow with depth. The air feels alive, the silence becomes rich, and the ordinary transforms into something sacred. You realize that presence is not about sitting quietly with closed eyes, but about opening your inner sight to the vividness of now. Life doesn't happen in some distant future where everything will be perfect. It unfolds in this very second, raw and unfiltered. The problem is not that the truth is hidden, but that perception has turned blind. Awareness brings a certain sharpness, a clarity that cuts through confusion. You begin to see people as they are, situations as they are, and yourself as you truly are. There is no need to control or manipulate anything because clarity itself aligns you with reality. When the mind becomes quiet, awareness flows freely, revealing what was always in front of you. The fog of overthinking lifts and life stands exposed in its pure form, simple, beautiful and complete. Presence is not a spiritual theory, it is the most practical way to live. When your awareness is anchored in the now, no moment goes unnoticed and no experience is wasted. The eyes no longer just look, they start to see. The heart no longer just feels, it begins to understand. Living in awareness means walking through life with open eyes, unburdened by illusion, connected to the truth of every breath. That is where real seeing begins. When the present moment becomes your only reality, eyes may be open, but true vision is missing in most people. They move through life seeing forms, colors and movements, yet remain blind to the essence behind them. Looking is mechanical, it happens without awareness. Seeing is alive, it demands presence, depth and stillness. When your mind is constantly judging, labeling and comparing, you only see what you already believe. Vision then becomes a repetition of your own conditioning rather than a revelation of truth. Real vision does not depend on what your eyes show, but on the quality of your perception. A person full of noise cannot perceive clearly because their awareness is clouded by thought. You may look at a person and instantly form an opinion, yet never truly see their being. You may walk through nature surrounded by beauty, but remain untouched because the eyes are busy collecting images, not experiencing the moment. When perception is covered by judgment, life becomes flat, repetitive and lifeless. To see beyond judgment means to meet life without resistance or conclusion. It requires the courage to be silent inside, to let every moment speak for itself instead of forcing meaning onto it. The eyes only show you the surface, awareness unveils what lies underneath. When you stop trying to define everything, a subtle clarity emerges that no thought can describe. This clarity allows you to sense truth directly, without distortion or interference. Most people are not blind because their eyes fail, but because their minds are too loud. They are imprisoned by opinions, fears, and identities that blur their natural perception. The mind acts like a veil, twisting everything to fit its own comfort and control. Only when that veil drops do you start to see reality as it is, raw, silent, and undeniable. True vision begins when you stop interpreting and start witnessing. To live with open eyes is not enough. You must also awaken the inner sight that sees without division. When judgment dissolves, everything becomes luminous, even the ordinary. A leaf, a face, or a sound can hold infinite depth when seen with a clear mind. Vision without awareness leads to blindness, awareness without judgment leads to truth. Seeing in this way transforms life from something to analyze into something to experience completely. The mind is a restless machine, constantly producing thoughts, fears and stories that cloud your inner world. It never stops talking, never stops analyzing, and never allows silence to enter. Every assumption, every memory, and every opinion you hold becomes part of a fog that blurs your perception. You begin to mistake these mental projections for reality itself, losing touch with what actually is. When your mind becomes cluttered, even the simplest truth appears distant and complicated. This fog of thought is not just noise, it shapes your entire experience of life. You see people through the lens of past experiences, and you see situations through the lens of expectations. The mind filters reality, turning it into something that fits your personal story. You are no longer responding to the present, you are reacting to your own interpretations. The result is confusion, frustration, and a constant sense of being lost. The more you think, the thicker the fog becomes. Clarity begins only when the mind becomes still. Silence is not the absence of thought, but the space where truth can be heard. When you stop fighting with your thoughts and simply observe them, they start losing their power. In that space of awareness, the noise fades and what remains is pure perception. The world does not change, but the way you see it transforms entirely. The fog lifts and everything appears vivid, simple and alive. The mind is a powerful tool, but when it becomes your master, it turns against you. It feeds on your attention, creating endless loops of worry, doubt and comparison. Most people live inside this self-created storm without realizing they can step out of it. Stillness is not achieved through effort. It happens when you stop feeding the noise with your energy. Awareness is like sunlight. When it shines, the fog naturally disappears. When the fog clears, life stands naked before you, raw and unfiltered. There is no confusion, no distortion, no struggle to understand. You simply see. That seeing is not intellectual, it is direct and complete. In that moment, truth reveals itself effortlessly because it was never hidden, only veiled by the turbulence of thought. When the mind becomes quiet, reality no longer needs to be sought, it simply unfolds in its purest form. Familiarity slowly dulls the senses. What once appeared meaningful becomes ordinary when the mind labels it as known. You stop looking closely, stop feeling deeply, and begin to live mechanically among things you no longer notice. The people you love, the places you inhabit, and the blessings you possess fade into the background of your awareness. When something becomes familiar, the mind assumes it understands it completely, and that assumption blinds you to the depth that still exists there. this blindness grows silently. You wake up in the same room, walk the same streets, speak to the same faces and never realize that every single moment is new. The eyes may see the same image, but life is constantly changing beneath the surface. Yet familiarity convinces you that you've already seen it all, so you stop paying attention. What was once a source of wonder turns invisible simply because it feels repetitive. The tragedy is not that beauty disappears, but that you lose the sensitivity to feel it. The same happens in relationships. People stop truly seeing each other because they think they already know everything there is to know. They respond to an image of the person, not to the living being standing in front of them. Love grows cold, not because it dies, but because attention fades. Presence is the lifeblood of connection, and once it's replaced by routine, blindness sets in. Familiarity without awareness turns affection into habit and understanding into assumption. Even in the smallest details of life, this blindness steals meaning. The food you eat, the breath you take, the air that touches your skin, all become background noise when awareness weakens. You take them for granted because they are constant, yet they are the foundation of your existence. The mind's hunger for novelty blinds it to the miracle of the ordinary. What you ignore out of familiarity often holds the deepest lessons waiting to be rediscovered. To see again, you must unlearn the comfort of assumption. You must learn to approach life as if it were the first time every time. Awareness restores freshness to what the mind calls familiar. The flower you pass daily, the person you overlook, the quiet moment you dismiss, all can become revelations when seen without labels. Familiarity does not need to breed blindness, it can awaken vision if you choose to see beyond habit and meet life anew in each breath. Ego acts like a thick glass wall between you and reality. It doesn't let you see things as they are, it makes you see things as you wish them to be. Every thought, every belief and every opinion becomes a layer that colors your vision. You interpret life through the lens of your own identity and everything is measured against your sense of self. The ego is always protecting, defending and comparing, and in doing so, it separates you from the truth of the moment. You are no longer responding to life, but to your own self-created image. This filter of ego keeps you trapped in distortion. When something threatens your image, you resist it. When something supports it, you chase it. Reality becomes secondary to the ego's endless need for validation. You twist facts to fit your comfort and reject what challenges your sense of control. The more strongly you hold on to this identity, the more fragile you become, because everything outside of it feels like a potential threat. In protecting this illusion, you lose connection with what is real. The ego thrives on separation. It makes you believe you are different, better or worse than others. It divides life into right and wrong, success and failure, gain and loss. These divisions create constant conflict within you because the world refuses to fit perfectly into your judgments. When you start living through the eyes of ego, peace disappears and clarity fades. The world becomes a battlefield where you are always trying to win, prove or defend. You forget that life was never meant to be a competition, it was meant to be an experience. Freedom begins the moment you recognize this filter and stop feeding it. Awareness exposes the ego for what it is, a survival mechanism pretending to be you. When you observe its reactions without identifying with them, its grip begins to loosen. You realize that your opinions are not truth and your identity is not your essence. This clarity allows you to meet life as it is, not as your ego. Pain is not an enemy, it is a messenger. Every discomfort that touches your life carries a truth that words cannot teach. Yet most people spend their entire lives running from pain, numbing it, or pretending it doesn't exist. In doing so, they also run from their own growth. Pain is life's way of getting your attention when you have ignored its gentler whispers. It strips away illusion, pride and false strength, forcing you to see what you refuse to face. When you stop fighting pain and start listening to it, something powerful happens. The energy that was once trapped in resistance begins to move and awareness starts to expand. Every heartbreak, loss or failure becomes a mirror reflecting where you are stuck and what you must learn. Pain shows you your boundaries, your attachments and your unhealed parts. It doesn't come to punish you but to awaken you. The moment you meet it with acceptance instead of fear, it begins to transform from suffering into understanding. Running from pain only deepens its roots. You can distract yourself for a while, but unresolved pain hides in the corners of your being, shaping your choices and your emotions without your awareness. It influences how you love, how you trust and how you see the world. The more you deny it, the more power it gains over you. Facing pain with presence is not weakness, it is the purest form of strength. It demands honesty, courage and the willingness to see truth without hiding behind comfort. Pain often reveals the illusion of control. It reminds you that no matter how much you plan or protect yourself, life will break through your barriers to teach what you refuse to learn. Every time pain enters your life, it tears away a layer of false identity. It forces surrender not as defeat but as liberation. When the mind stops asking, "Why me?" and starts asking, "What is this teaching me?" transformation begins. You stop being a victim of your experience and become a student of your own evolution. When pain is understood, it loses its poison and becomes medicine. The same intensity that once burned you now purifies you. It clears your vision, sharpens your awareness and deepens your compassion. What once felt like destruction turns into a doorway to wisdom. Pain is not a curse to escape but a message to embrace. Within its depths lies the strength you never knew you had and the clarity that shows you what was always right in front of you. Gratitude is not just a polite expression of thanks, it is a powerful state of awareness that transforms the way you perceive life. Most people look at what they lack and complain about what is missing, blind to the abundance already surrounding them. When the heart is closed in dissatisfaction, the eyes cannot see clearly. Gratitude reopens that inner vision. It shifts attention from scarcity to fullness, from longing to appreciation. In that shift, perception sharpens and what once felt ordinary begins to shine with quiet significance. When you start to live with gratitude, every small moment begins to carry weight. The warmth of sunlight, the sound of breath, the presence of another human being, all become vivid experiences. Gratitude pulls you out of the habit of taking things for granted and brings you face with life as it truly is. You begin to see that nothing is owed to you and yet everything is given. This awareness softens arrogance, dissolves entitlement and fills even the simplest moments with richness. The ungrateful mind constantly searches for more, believing fulfillment lies in what is not yet achieved. It overlooks the beauty already present because it is fixated on the next desire. Gratitude breaks this endless cycle by grounding you in the reality of now. It reminds you that joy is not born from accumulation, but from recognition. When you learn to see value in what you already have, the hunger for more loses its control over you. Contentment no longer feels like settling, it becomes freedom. Gratitude also sharpens emotional intelligence. It opens space within you to truly notice people, not just their presence but their efforts, kindness and energy. It allows you to respond with understanding rather than judgment. The ego begins to fade because gratitude humbles it. You stop comparing and start appreciating. In that stillness, relationships deepen and the world around you becomes more vibrant and real. Gratitude removes the dust that clouds perception and lets you see life in its pure, raw truth. Living with gratitude does not mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect. It means seeing value even in challenge, recognizing that every experience, pleasant or harsh, adds depth to your awareness. When gratitude becomes your lens, clarity follows naturally. You begin to perceive patterns, lessons, and hidden beauty that were invisible before. Gratitude does not just make you happier, it makes you awake. It allows you to meet life not with complaint, but with presence, understanding, and clear sight. People spend their lives looking for signs, messages, or signals from somewhere beyond themselves, believing that truth is hidden in distant places or rare moments. They wait for extraordinary events to reveal what is already present, and in doing so, they overlook the obvious reality in front of them. Life does not hide meaning behind complexity, it places it plainly, yet most remain blind because they are conditioned to expect something dramatic. The search itself becomes a distraction from seeing what is already clear. The mind creates a habit of waiting for confirmation, of needing proof before it will acknowledge reality. It asks for signs to feel safe, to avoid responsibility, and to delay action. Every hesitation, every glance at the sky or every random coincidence is scrutinized for meaning, while the fundamental truths of existence pass unnoticed. The irony is that the very act of searching prevents awareness from emerging. Courage is required not to find signs but to face what is already present without excuse or delay. Truth is embedded in the ordinary, the familiar, and the immediate. The love of a friend, the rhythm of your breath, the presence of your body, these are the signs that life has already provided. The patterns of your daily existence, if observed deeply, reveal lessons far greater than any miraculous external event. When you stop looking outward for validation, you begin to recognize the signals woven into every moment. Life itself speaks clearly, but the mind must learn to listen without interference. Searching for external signs often reflects a fear of responsibility. People hope that some mystical hint will guide them so they do not have to decide, act, or confront themselves. This avoidance keeps them in a loop of indecision and dependency. Facing what is present, however, requires courage and honesty. It demands seeing your circumstances, emotions, and choices without filtering them through fear, desire, or wishful thinking. Only then does clarity replace uncertainty and life's truth becomes undeniable. When you stop the endless search for signs, your perception opens fully. What was once invisible due to distraction and expectation becomes clear. You see patterns, lessons, and opportunities in the ordinary fabric of life. The courage to face what is real transforms waiting into action, confusion into understanding, and blindness into awareness. The universe does not need to send signals, it has already arranged everything you need to see. The question is whether you are willing to notice. Stillness is not merely the absence of movement or noise. It is the presence of awareness that penetrates beyond thought. Most people move through life in constant agitation, reacting to impulses, worries, and desires, and in this turbulence, they miss the essence of what is. When the mind is busy, perception is clouded, and the truth remains hidden behind layers of distraction. Only in stillness does the veil lift, allowing what is real to reveal itself without distortion or resistance. The body and mind are rarely quiet at the same time. Even in moments of physical rest, the mind may race with memories, plans, and anxieties. These restless thoughts prevent you from fully sensing what is in front of you. True stillness comes when both body and mind align in attention and presence. In that alignment, awareness sharpens, subtle patterns emerge, and even ordinary moments carry extraordinary clarity. The intensity of life does not diminish in stillness. Instead, it is felt more deeply and completely. Stillness is a gateway because it allows the observer to exist without interference. When you stop imposing judgments, interpretations, and expectations on every experience, you begin to see things as they truly are. The mind tends to color reality with stories and labels, but stillness removes these distortions. What was once hidden in noise becomes apparent. The still mind perceives without the need to analyze, the still heart feels without the need to control, and the still body allows life to move through it naturally. In stillness, the ordinary becomes profound. A single breath, a faint sound, or the movement of light can convey truths that escape the restless mind. The subtleties of life, the texture of a moment, the unspoken presence of another, the quiet flow of thought become visible when the inner turbulence ceases. Stillness is not passive, it is the active recognition of reality without the interference of ego, fear, or habit. In this space, awareness expands and clarity emerges naturally, unforced and undeniable. The practice of stillness transforms perception. What once seemed fragmented, confusing, or distant begins to appear coherent, complete and immediate. It is the point where inner silence meets outer life, where observation replaces reaction, and where truth reveals itself effortlessly. Stillness is not an escape from life, but an immersion into it. Only in such stillness can you truly see what has always been present, waiting for eyes capable of noticing. Seeing is not merely looking, it is the direct perception of reality without distortion. Most people live under layers of thought, expectation, and habit that prevent them from truly experiencing what is before them. They interpret every situation through fears, desires, and assumptions, and in doing so, reality becomes filtered, fragmented, and misleading. True seeing demands that these filters be dropped, that the mind and heart open, and that nothing be resisted or ignored. Only then does life appear in its raw, unaltered form. The truth is never hidden, it's simply unnoticed. What blinds you is not darkness, but your own unwillingness to see. Open your eyes to the ordinary, and you'll find the extraordinary woven through every moment. Stop chasing shadows and start witnessing life as it is. When you finally see what's right in front of you, you realize the journey was never outward. It was always inward.